Hello everyone, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink, and I could not resist making another card with this week's Color Throwdown Challenge. My previous card used the Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers with this same stamp set. I had to use the same stamp set as well because I had mentioned in the previous video how I had two pieces of cardstock ready. I was wanting to make two cards. Well, this is technically my second one, using a few different supplies, but the same stamp set and the same colors. So what I did was I took some Tim Holtz Distress watercolor cardstock, and I have the textured side facing up, and I treated it with some anti-static powder, and then I'm stamping the images with Versamark ink and white heat embossing them. This time though, I am not masking off any of the images, I am just stamping them and embossing them. So they are overlapping, and with a set like this really works. I've seen other card makers do this sort of thing lately, and again, it kind of irks my OCD a little bit, but it works when it's all said and done. So I'm just stamping the images, and some of them are going to overlap a little bit, some aren't, and coating them with the white and embossing powder and then melting that with my heat tool. And I just kind of kept going along until I was happy with how everything looked. And then I'm going to go in and add the four colors I want to use, but this time I'm using Distress inks. That's why I chose to use the Distress watercolor paper, because Distress inks with Distress paper, they're the same brand. They're meant to work together, and Distress inks like blend beautifully on the Distress watercolor paper. I can't even. It's so much easier on here. I don't have to fight with it like I do with some of my other cardstocks. I find I have to really work at it to get the colors to like apply smoothly and blend smoothly, but this literally took like almost no effort. So the four colors I'm using are, I started with Twisted Citron, and then I added Mustard Seed, and then I'm adding Picked Raspberry, and then finally Candied Apple along the bottom. And I just have my little mini ink, mini Distress inks, and then I have the mini ink blending tool, and just some scratch paper underneath that. And when I'm getting to the bottom here, since everything's already blended, I just used a little Post-it note to hold on to the cardstock, because with Distress inks, your fingers can actually, like, you can actually kind of get your fingerprints like into the ink, because the oils from your hands can somewhat reactivate the ink. So I just use like either a scrap of paper or a Post-it note just to be able to hold the cardstock when I'm like sponging the entire surface. And once I'd done the first layer, I went in and added a second layer of all the colors just to really intensify it, because I couldn't not. It was just, I wanted it as bright and vibrant as possible. I think that's why I'm loving this color challenge this week, is just these colors are so bright. So once I was done sponging everything, I spritz it all with my Distress sprayer, and with that, I've shown in previous videos, if you keep it locked and you only like press the nozzle like halfway, not even, you get these awesome splatters. So I splattered the surface, let it sit for 30 seconds, picked up a paper towel, and I did that twice. And then I pulled out my Copic Opaque White, and I'm showing this here because I've been getting a lot of questions about it lately. It comes in two different jars. There's this one with this funny little brush tip. Mine, for whatever reason, is a little bit foobarred. I don't know why. I assume that I wrecked it in some way. It's meant to be able to, like, you know, paint fine details. I never use it for painting, more so because my brush is wrecked. And then you can get it in a jar like this. So it's the exact same product. It just comes in two different forms. Either that little tiny jar with the brush tip, or this larger jar that you can dip out of. And it's just basically a very, very opaque, very bright white acrylic paint. So you don't have to have this, but I love it. I love the consistency of it, and I love how white it is. It's just easier to work with, and because it's so opaque, I find it better than most like actual acrylic paints. So, and the jars I've had have been lasting forever. I can't even remember when I got the first one. So I just dab some of that onto an acrylic block, and then I thin it out with a bit of water just so I can create a good splatter. And then I pick up that with my paintbrush and then tap it against my fingers to create my white splatter, because I'd already created the splatter with the water, and then I just wanted more of the white splatters. So once I did that and everything was completely dry, I had to add some shimmer. I wasn't going to do this step, but then I couldn't resist. So I'm just using my Spectrum Noir Clear Overlay Sparkle Brush Pen and coloring in all of the images and making sure to kind of scribble it off as I go from like one colored area to another, because it does reactivate the ink. So you don't want to work it too much, otherwise you are going to really start pulling up and moving that Distress ink around. But I just quickly applied it, just a nice thin layer, and you can see that gorgeous sparkle it creates. I just love it. So once I was done with that, I pulled out some white cardstock and the Simon Says Stamp Painted Friend die. And I thought I would have another go at this coating the back of the cardstock with adhesive, adhering it to some craft foam, and then running it through my die cut machine. I mentioned in a video not too long ago that I had a heck of a time and actually ended up ruining my die cut machine because I was just being ridiculous. I was trying too hard and adding too much to the sandwich stack to get it to cut through all this stuff. And I've said, do not have success with this, but I thought I would try it again. So I adhered the cardstock to the craft foam with my ATG adhesive and then ran it through my machine. And it did cut, and I was not happy with it. I found it didn't cut smoothly enough. It had little rough edges. I found that it does not work for me. And I do know that it's supposed to, kind of pop up a bit, like just from the pressure of the machine, it gets really flattened and then it pops up. Mine never comes back. I have not once ever had it come back. And this die cut, I let it sit overnight just to see, maybe it just takes longer than I thought. And mine never do. So I don't know why I have so much trouble with it, but I do. And I was frustrated with it. So I was like, you know what, forget it. I'm just going to go back to my tried and true, which is die cutting the die 3 times from just the same heavyweight white cardstock, and then just layering it with my Ranger Multimedia Matte Adhesive. So quick and simple, and that gives me the raised die cut like I had originally wanted, and I'm not sitting there fiddling with funny little pieces of craft foam. I don't know. I don't know what I'm missing with that and why other people have such easy success with it, and me, I just get frustrated. So I do it my way and it's still working, so I'm not going to mess with it anymore. So once I had all 3 layers adhered together, I adhered that to the sponged and splattered panel here. And I'm just using my little quick stick to fiddle with the little dot, the tittle. The tittle, that's what it's called on the eye. I learned that from Laura Basson, all her little random facts in her videos. So anyway, it's true, you can't say that without giggling. Anyway, adhered that to the card front here with that same multimedia matte adhesive. And then of course coated the die cut with more of that clear glitter overlay from Spectrum Noir because I absolutely love this stuff. It's just so pretty. And then I'm adhering this to my white card base, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, like standard A2 size card. And then get some stuff out of the way here so I can grab my big container of Pretty Pink Posh Sparkling Clear Mix Sequins. And just a somewhat controlled random smattering of those all over my card front here. And then I just use the quick stick again, but I'm using the other side here, just the little flat end of it, to press against the sequin so it pops up a little bit so I can, and then squeeze the adhesive underneath. And this made it go so much faster. I don't know why it took me this long to start doing this and actually start using this tool again. I've had it for a good couple of years and I rarely pull it out. And yet this was the fastest sequin application I've ever done. So I need to make a point of using it more often. So did that, let those dry, and then to finish the inside, I'm just going to stamp all of the images again with those same distress inks. And just layering them over each other, no masking, no nothing, and it just works. And leaving off any other sentiments just to keep it a little more open-ended. And that finished off my card. So I will have a link below the video to my blog post. I'll have a link to the color challenge. People have been asking me about that, so I always link to that in the blog post as well, so you can head on over to the Color Throwdown blog, and they've got info in the sidebar how it all works if you want to play along. It's a lot of fun. It just is a good way to get the creative juices flowing. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching and subscribing and thumbs upping my videos. I really appreciate it. And I will see you guys very, very soon in the next one. Bye.